This bloody election warning. Yeah, that's right, it's finally happening. It's finally happening! Yesterday, in a move that shocked everybody, probably even himself, tiny little Rishi Sunak called the general election, didn't he? As Ronan Keating once said, life's a roller coaster. Although unfortunately for Rishi Sunak, he does not meet the minimum height requirement to get on the roller coaster. Yeah, he's just stuck with the teacups because he's a bellend. So how did things pan out yesterday? Well, rumours started circulating after PMQs, and it was only after old biscuit mouth Cameron returned from doing absolutely nothing incriminating with a pig in Albania that people started to think, oh yeah, this isn't a normal cabinet meeting. And then after that, things moved very quickly. I didn't believe it, largely because we've been here before with them kind of giving us like false hope, you know. And then there was also the part of me that thought, you know what, this makes absolutely no sense. This is politically the equivalent of washing your own face with a handful of your own piss. But a press conference was called at 5 PM, wasn't it? The act of Sunak calling that election, well, it frankly couldn't have gone any better for me and all the other people that hate the Tories, you know. This is how it panned out, right? Absolutely twatting it down with rain. Out walks Rishi, immediately drenched. It looked like he was wearing wet look leather. And then, when, you know, you thought things couldn't get any worse for him, which I enjoyed, up pops Steve Bray, doesn't he? Now, Steve Bray is a dedicated anti-Brexit protester. You can find him most days protesting events with music adorned in EU flags, right? Sunak walks up to the podium and this happens.
Some of you will only just be starting to feel the benefits, and for some, it might still be hard when you look at your bank.
Beautiful. Here's a little behind the scenes of Steve Bray setting up the equipment. Steve stood at the front of Downing Street at the gates with his speakers and his amp and blasted out Labour's 1997 election campaign song with such force that it drowned out Rishi Sunak's election speech, and then he got drowned by the rain. It's things like this that makes me feel like I understand finally why Armando Iannucci didn't want to make any more episodes of The Thick of It, because you can't write it. That election announcement, right? It's almost as if Keir Starmer organised it. This isn't Steve Bray's first rodeo, no. In probably one of my favourite political moments of all time, on the day of Boris Johnson's resignation, or it may have been when he was like holding the siege, remember, when he just wouldn't go? A very unusual sequence of events occurred. Right, first is a little bit of context. In the weeks before, as a part of the government's authoritarian, now illegal protest laws, yeah, they've been ruled actually unlawful. Steve Bray had his speakers taken by the police, okay? Now, as it was all kicking off, of course, Steve and all of his mates were on College Green. Hugh Grant tweeted this. Morning, Steve. Glad you had your speakers back. Do you by any chance have the Benny Hill music to hand? This was Steve's response. One of the best parts about it was that it actually drowned out MPs trying to give interviews to the media.
Firstly, we need to make sure that we keep the basic functions of government going. That's really important. There are, for example, no ministers in DfE at the moment. That needs to be sorted out.
But nothing will ever beat playing Things Can Only Get Better, as Sunak gave an election announcement that sounded like a resignation. On every single replay of that, throughout history, we will get to watch in real time the humiliation of a soaking wet Prime Minister launching a frankly suicidal electoral campaign in the pouring rain. You know, the memes have been exemplary. And for Sunak, what it's done is it's turned him from a figure that no one particularly likes to a laughing stock, which is frankly no less than he deserves. Now, in the hours after the general election being called, things immediately started to get mental. There were reports from a few sources of rebel MPs working behind the scenes to try and call off the general election by replacing Rishi Sunak as leader. Now, a lot of people think that the reason that he called the general election was because he'd reached the threshold for letters of no confidence, which could have triggered a vote of no confidence. The guy, evidently changed off his nut, said today has been a complete disaster, but the election is not irrevocable up until the point of dissolution. They don't even understand how politics works. You can't do that. Sunak would have to resign. It's desperate, it's insane, and I'm loving it. Because it just proves, how insane and thick they are. Deadly combination. Another interesting moment was when, for God knows what reasons, Tory staffers decided to set the security on Sky News, who were simply there to cover the Tories' launch event. Here's a reporter for Sky being physically manhandled out of the building.
Campaign event. At a Conservative Party launch, this is where the Prime Minister is going to speak in the next few minutes, and I'm being forcibly removed. We just simply wanted to have access tonight at Sky News.
Oh, and here's a clip of Kay Burley, who's soon to change her name, I think, to Kay Kunsberg.
What makes Keir Starmer a winner? I mean, look at his football team. Almost, but not quite.
Well, I think he's a great candidate to be Prime Minister.
This is what we're up against. So why has he done it? Because they've bankrupted the country. Labour is going to be inheriting bankruptcy and a poisoned chalice, frankly. The Rwanda scheme isn't going to work. They've just given £400 million of our money to Rwanda. The only person that's ever gone there on a plane has been voluntarily, and he was paid to do it. So they've spent £400 million on a racist, performatively cruel, literally cruel, immoral, unenforceable policy. Today, 5 Tories stood down. It was revealed that a supposedly grassroots protest against Labour leader Angela Rayner was actually organised by the Conservative Party. See what I mean about desperate? I once saw a woman take a shit in a bin in the centre of town in broad daylight. Pulled down her pants, low bin, stuck her arse in, shat. This lot make her look normal. I would literally prefer her to be in control of the country. It's an absolute clown show. It gets worse. Sunak visited Wales today, broadly Labour, and he pretended to be a normal person. Turns out the people that he was taking questions from in the crowd were Conservative councillors posing as ordinary people. And not just that, no, only invited media were allowed in. With a list of rules spelled out: no photography or video, that will come from number 10, no live reporting, no mention of the visit until he'd gone, and no questions about national issues. Free press. When questioned about Rwanda, Rishi Sunak saying, oh yeah, the flights will definitely take off. Definitely take off after the election though. Yeah. But then this is a guy that took, full credit for inflation coming down, but no responsibility whatsoever for inflation going up. That was all global issues, wasn't it? And in other news, it was sunny yesterday. I did that. One of my favourite things that's happened since the election so far is seeing all the Tories panic and cry. It's given me a general erection, I won't lie to you. But now we're about to enter war. Expect a lot of frenzied, unusual, coffeed up videos from me over the next 6 weeks as we ramp up the tactical vote campaign to end all tactical vote campaigns. Oh yeah, StopTheTories.vote is gearing up to not just make this, a bit of a battering, but an absolute Tory wipeout. We want them in third place. We want them weeping uncontrollably in sports centres. We want them in prison. This is our once in a lifetime opportunity to do that. Expect a lot of really dirty tricks from them. They've already started with the below the belt attack ads, but also remember that in just over 40 days, after 14 years of being put through hell as a country, on July the 4th, we're going to boot out this clown show for a generation. It's going to be fucking delicious. Register to vote, get your voter ID, tell your friends and family, go to StopTheTories.vote, get your tactical vote and yeet them off a pier.